Welcome to today's webinar. We are Urban Confluence Silicon Valley, and the point of today's webinar is to update you about our significant progress and everything that we've been up to for the last couple of years. Many of you have lots of knowledge and others I'm sure don't, but you please use the Q&A function to ask questions and we will answer them as well as we can after I go through my presentation. So my name is Steve Borkenhagen. I'm the Executive Director of Urban Confluence Silicon Valley. The other board members of our organization are John Ball, who's the chairman of the board, and Christine Davis, who's the vice chair. So why are we doing what we're doing? Our mission is to create an iconic structure that builds civic pride and also leads to economic development in our city and throughout our region. We believe that this landmark will be a really critical part of the new San Jose that's being built now. The changes in downtown San Jose over the next 10 years are going to be monumental. There really has never been another period like this. We'll get into that a little bit more in a while. But we want to build a world-class destination that causes people from San Jose, our region, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, and the world to come here and identify this object that we build with our community. In essence, we want to be the logo of Silicon Valley. We want to be a symbol of our great city and region. And of course, we want a community asset that respects the current environment, particularly in this strange time that we're all in with COVID right now. We've been to City Council twice over the last few years. We've had unanimous approvals both times. The mayor and Councilman Raul Perales have both been very supportive of what we're doing, and we very much appreciate their support and the support of the entire City Council. The last approval we got was to use Arena Green as our site, and that took place after we did a very detailed site study, and we studied 7 sites in downtown San Jose. And clearly Arena Green was identified as the best site for our project. So this is Arena Green. To the right would be Highway 87. To the left is SAP Center, so that's the west. And to the north, the airport is a mile or so away. And to the south, you can see Santa Clara Street running next to Arena Green. Confluence Point appears right in the center in the lower part. So on the right, you've got the Guadalupe River, and on the left you've got Los Gatos Creek. Creates a little triangle there, kind of like a pie slice. That's Confluence Point. Confluence Point is actually not technically part of our site, even though we are hoping to do improvements to Confluence Point later on with full cooperation and communication with City Parks Department and of course the City Council. The city owns the park and will always own the park. It's a city park. We are simply building a gift that we want to give to our community and really to the world. We couldn't do anything without money. We've had great support throughout our community. This is a list of our largest donors, $50,000 and above. We've got a number of them. We've also got about 400 other donors at levels ranging from a few dollars up to many thousands of dollars. We're getting close to have raised $2.5 million. We did about $1.5 million over the first few years. And then over the last few months, we've raised the better part of $1 million. In essence, the money we've raised now is for the 3 stipends that are being given to the 3 teams. Those are 3 $150,000 stipends. I'll talk about it more in a moment. And then operating expenses for us to get from now until our capital campaign, which would start approximately a year from now. We couldn't do anything without lots of partner organizations. We work regularly with every organization listed on this page and many, many others. This is a community effort. Some of the most important community partners are listed here, but there are many others. In particular, the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy is the steward organization for Arena Green and the entire Guadalupe River Park. So we meet regularly with Jody Starbird, who is the chairwoman of the board. Jason Sue is their executive director. Mark Baginski is a member of their board. We've made presentations to their entire board. It's critical that we are always in alignment with the Conservancy because they're the long-term stewards of the park, as I said. And then these other organizations are very important. Josh Melander from Little Italy has been a really good partner. Little Italy cares very much about what happens in Arena Green. Their backyard is part of the Park 1 block north of Arena Green, but they're very interested in Arena Green for obvious reasons. Spurs, very concerned about urban development in San Jose. Clearly PRNS, that's Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. Their job is to make great parks. So they've been a really great partner for us. Nicole Burnham has been our liaison, and she's been invaluable in helping us get to where we are and where we need to get to. And then you can see these other organizations that have supported us either emotionally, spiritually, or financially, and all of them have been very important to us. We worked really hard to have a first-rate jury. We've got designers, placemakers, architects, and local people. You can see them all here. If you go to our website, you can read bios of them, but we're extremely proud of them, the work they've done, and the work they're going to do in selecting the winner. They convened in August for 2.5 days in order to choose the 3 finalists. We think they did a really fabulous job, and we're excited after we get through phase 2 of having them come together again and select the winner. That'll happen early next year. So our competition took us about a year, and it was open to everyone. We very consciously invited everyone in the world to participate. The bar was pretty low on what was needed to submit. It was really an idea. We called it an ideas competition. It was not fully fleshed out designs. So we had people of various skills, various talent levels from around the world. We were really thrilled that we got 963 qualified submissions. We were, I think, without a doubt, one of the most successful ideas or design competitions in the world in the last year or two. We gave them a whole year, largely because of COVID. We had various deadlines, which we extended with our eyes wide open. The submitters from around the world very much wanted more time, particularly in the time of COVID. We think it really helped us get far more submissions. Just to be clear, the submissions were and are anonymous. The only 3 submitters whose names have been shared with the public and will ever be shared are the 3 finalists. So interestingly, our 3 finalists were all foreign born, or I should say are all foreign born. One, a young man from Japan, another young man from China, and an architect who was born in Spain, who now lives in Australia. He's got a thriving practice. The other 2 are really beginning their careers now. I'm going to take a few minutes right now, and I'm not going to share the entire videos. These are 4-minute videos that the 3 finalists created. I'm going to just skip through them and give you a little sampling of what those finalists' ideas are like. But you are welcome to go to our website for these 3 videos, and also for lots of other good information. We put an immense amount of work into our website, and we think it's got lots of valuable information for anyone who's interested in our project. So let's start with Breeze of Innovation. Fernando Jerez is the designer. He's the man who was born in Spain. He's an architect and lives in Australia.
Silicon Valley's thousands of companies continually turn innovation into art. This new landmark materializes in a gesture, a white brushstroke in the blue sky of San Jose.
Silicon Valley is not about replicating the past. It's not about replicating things that already exist. It's about shaping the future. When I say I'm an architect and tell people what I do, people often ask me why the buildings now are so boring. And maybe it's because most of the buildings are replicating things that already have been here instead of trying to design what happened next. And this is when we came up with the idea of designing not a static object, but a dynamic one, an object that is never the same.
Represent the diversity of companies and the millions of people who work in Silicon Valley. Apple, Google, Cisco, Adobe, Zoom, Facebook, eBay, each rod a different company.
And that generates power enough to use for the purpose of the building.
We try to imagine the future.
Celebrated with a conical void inside this new 21st century tower that has the exact dimensions as the original tower.
We like people to experience that.
This is Breeze of Innovation.
So that was some snippets of Breeze of Innovation. The next of the three finalists is called Welcome to Wonderland. This was designed by Rish Saito, a young Japanese architect.
What happens when you make the familiar unfamiliar and then add a mix of whimsy and digital projection? Welcome to Wonderland. Inspired by Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Welcome to Wonderland celebrates the imagination of Silicon Valley and San Jose. Silicon Valley has long been known for pushing boundaries in technology by creating an eccentric biome composed of gigantic flora.
The people improve their cognitive ability by exploring inside and looking at from a distance.
In the novel, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Alice says, being so many different sizes in a day is very confusing. As you move deeper inside, the oversized plant life imparts the feeling that you are physically growing smaller with every step you take.
Once you see something beautiful, yet you feel uncomfortable, of the enjoyment.
Projection mapping brings the sculptures to life with dynamic colors, textures, and super-scaled hologram creatures. This design aims to inspire the next generation of thinkers and dreamers in San Jose, Silicon Valley, and today. This is Welcome to Wonderland.
So that was Welcome to Wonderland. The third finalist is called Nebula Tower. This is designed by Xinrong Li, a young Chinese architect, just finished school at Harvard Design.
This is Nebula Tower.
We asked ourselves two questions when we started with the design. First, how can we design a contemporary urban landmark, iconic and specific for San Jose, that represents the city's identity and responds to its history, rather than only building a spectacular structure that can be placed in any big cities? And second, what kind of landmark do we need when we are empowered with a variety of new technology today, when we need to, and we're creating a subtly different form in abstraction to make it capable of accommodating new technology and contemporary design.
The design places a neutral cube with a subtle reference to the San Jose Electric Light Tower at Arena Green West. The dimension of the cube is 180 feet and is composed of a lattice grid with a hollow tower embedded within. 4 arched tunnels, ephemeral like a nebular cloud with a vacuum inside. At night, Nebula Tower transforms into a realm of infinite possibility and imagination and reveals the Phantom Tower within.
And what's interesting is the grid frame of the Nebula Tower is like let's call it a light matrix based on the dynamic control of the lighting. You can have some lights on, some lights off. the light tower. It could be a sphere, it could be a pyramid, it could be anything. That's why I'm saying it really empowers the lighting event and creates a dynamic landmark for San Jose. And this makes the landmark
So that was Nebula Tower. And again, if you want to see the entire videos, please go to our website. So here's our project timeline. Phase 1 competition ran for a year from July of 2019 to 20. We are currently in phase 2. The 3 designers have created very strong teams that are helping them take their ideas into a real design. They began in September, and early next year, they will give us their phase 2 submittals, and we will, after a lot of outreach, we will finally have the jury reconvene and select the winner. Community outreach is a very important part of what we do. We do it for almost on a daily basis, and any of you who have either questions or advice for us about outreach, please feel free to call me. My number is on the website. Phase 3 is detailed design development and comprehensive program verification. So that will take approximately a year, where these designs that are, the winning design that's selected by the jury will then go into much more detail. Then a year or so after that, we'll be in the phase of getting permits and running a capital campaign to pay for this landmark. And finally, we'll be in construction, and then ongoing operations into the distant future. You can see the last few dates are to be determined. We don't know yet. All of that's going to be driven by the winning design that's selected. We're really lucky to have John Ball as our board chair and also as head of our team, because John ran the Western United States for Hensel Phelps Construction and is an expert at building large, complex objects. And we expect whatever it is that we build to be large and complex. So we've definitely got the team to do the work. Also, Christine Davis came from a background with her husband John at Air Systems doing mechanical installations, mechanical systems, and has great familiarity with that part of the world. So we think we've got a great team to take this all the way. We do monthly outreach with a stakeholders group that includes the Office of Councilmember Perales, the River Park Conservancy, the Knight Foundation, the Sharks, Spur, Downtown Association, Little Italy, and Bill Eckern, who's the Diridon Area Project Manager. This group's been extremely helpful. Chris Thompson from Knight suggested a while back that it was critical that all of us who are stakeholders at Arena Green are, as Chris said, pulling in the same direction. So this has, I think, been very helpful for all the stakeholders for Arena Green to meet regularly and express our opinions about what that park should look like. We all have the same goal, which is to create a spectacular urban park where currently there's a really depressing, underutilized park for lots of different reasons. So we want to turn it into the gem of Silicon Valley. And city staff, including Nicole Burnham that I mentioned earlier, Michael Ogilvie, and Michael O'Connell from Public Works, they've also been extremely helpful in helping us plan, because at the end of the day, we are and must be good partners with the city who owns the park. So phase 2 submissions are due early next year. The winner will be chosen early next year, and then we'll go back to the city council for approval. And then finally, later on in the process, they will accept the gift that we offer to the city. So our jury is half local. Again, you can go to our website and see the details. Just a reminder, the park will always be a park. Some people have made assumptions that the city is giving away land or something like that. It's not true. The park is a park and will remain a park in perpetuity. One important point to make is that we think our timing is really good, in that this whole western part of downtown San Jose is going to undergo immense development in the last 10 years. And some of these developments listed here are west of Highway 87. Some of them are in the existing, what we might call the traditional downtown east of 87. But if you look at Google's project, Diridon Station and the BART Station, the immense J. Paul development in City View Plaza, what used to be called City View Plaza. Adobe's building an immense third tower right now. Platform 16 by Boston Properties, another giant project. And there are many, many others, but this is the perfect time for us to do something really dramatic that's on a par with these other world-class developments that are being built right now. The area around the arena and Arena Green is going to become a neighborhood with thousands and thousands of housing units, especially lots of young tech people, but lots of other people too. And we want to support life of everyone who lives in and around downtown. So with that, we hope you'll join us. I just want to reiterate that we are very easy to find. You can call me or email me anytime you want, again, with questions, advice, concerns, or anything else that you have. So Mike Hubert, who is our tech person who's running this. Mike, can you help me understand how to see the Q&A right now?
Yeah, so just go ahead and click on the Q&A panel at the bottom. And it should prompt up a window for you.
Yeah, I am not seeing it. Bear with me a moment.
With that being said, everyone, please submit your questions in the Q&A section of this webinar. Go ahead and click on that panel, and then feel free to submit your questions.
So I am on the Q&A now. So if anybody out there has questions, please send them to me and I will answer them. I will point out that the motivation from the beginning of our project, which John Ball and I and a friend named Tom Woolmott started the organization. And then after Tom moved out of the area, Christine Davis joined us. We all had the same feeling that it didn't make any sense that a city on the scale of San Jose, and particularly a region as important as Silicon Valley on the world stage, doesn't have a physical landmark. And it still really surprises us and many others. So even though we have some beautiful corporate campuses and some buildings that people love, none of them are outward facing and really designed for the community to share with everyone in the community and in the world. So that's really what motivated us to try to build something that's beautiful. We've all been inspired in our travels by places like the Space Needle, the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, and take any number of other ones. And we know it's a big goal, but John and I and Christine's, our thoughts were and are, if not us who, if not now when. And so here we are doing this, and we've found literally hundreds, if not thousands of people in the community for whom our vision resonates, and we're working diligently to get this done. So here's a question: how is SAP resolving its issues with Google about construction disruptions? Good question. The Sharks and SAP Center are very concerned about parking and construction disruptions that are going to be going on for the foreseeable future. The Google project is so large, I'm guessing it could take 10 or 20 years to complete. But we are not insiders in those conversations, but we know that the Sharks, the city, Google, and other major stakeholders are talking. So we don't know exactly how that's going to be resolved, but we know that people are working diligently to resolve them. The Sharks are obviously an immense community asset, both one of the largest generators of money and also of community pride and joy. That arena is one of the busiest buildings in the year. So we meet regularly with the Sharks and try to support them, and we hope to work with them as partners in the foreseeable future. What portion of Arena Green, or on what portion of Arena Green, will the new project be located? Will it be on the east side of the river or the west side closer to the arena? Currently, all three of the finalists are located on the west side of the arena, two of them at the northern end of that west side and one of them at the southern end. That could change over time though. So during phase 2 and after the selection of the winner, the precise location on site could actually change. Can you share more about the big picture, how the rest of the park will be planned for and programmed as it relates to the landmark? Excellent question. We have never wanted to build a landmark and then, as John Ball likes to say, do plop art. We're not interested in plopping a beautiful object in the park and then disappearing. We very much are committed to activating the entire park, whether that's bars and restaurants, museums, visitor centers, or anything else, also potentially sculpture gardens, art installations, whatever that might be, ponds, bridges, fountains, we don't know. So that's not demanded in the phase 2 submissions, but all 3 of the finalists know that we intend to do that. So we're asking them for narratives in phase 2 about how they might improve the park. And our goal again is not just to build an object, but rather to create a spectacular park. Do you have any idea at this point what will be needed in fundraising? Excellent question. The answer is no. We have intentionally not put an arbitrary budget on the project. At the end of phase 2, when we have a winner, that's when we will get down to it and seriously discuss the actual budget. And then obviously we need to know what the budget is before we do our capital campaign. But our philosophy has always been that a more expensive object will be easier to fund if it's spectacular than a less expensive object that's run of the mill. So all of our work is designed to create something spectacular. How will maintenance be covered? If the flower structure is chosen, it would be an immense effort to keep the dust and dirt off of each of the petals and leaves, not the normal type of cleaning. Very good question. So maintenance of the park will be something that we'll deal with downstream. We agreed with the city council when we met with them that trying to deal with maintenance before we knew what we were building didn't make sense. So once we have a winner chosen, we will immediately go into that mode. We may end up with an endowment that spins off enough money to repair and maintain the park on a permanent basis. But we don't know yet what maintenance will look like because we don't know yet what the winning design is. How can someone get involved and donate? Thank you for that question. It's really easy. Just go to our website. You can donate there. And if you want to get involved in any way, just give me a call. We have many volunteers who do lots of things for us, but we can always use more. Again, we've always viewed ourselves as a community project, and we believe that what we do will benefit every citizen, not just in San Jose, but in the South Bay and in the Bay Area, because this will become a go-to place for a Saturday morning with your kids or your grandkids, or lunch downtown, or just walking by to be inspired. Is the proximity to the airport a concern, specifically the height? Another good question. The heights of all buildings in and around the airport are determined by rule and by law. We can go up a little over 200 feet at Arena Green. The airport is there, it's not going anywhere, so we accept the fact that airplanes fly over the site. One might prefer that they didn't, but they do. So our site has planes flying over it, and the heights are determined by the city of San Jose and by federal policy and federal law. What is actually, I don't know the answer to the question, so I'm not going to read it. Actually, for the questioner, it says, what is the CROX project and how is it related to Urban Confluence? I don't know what CROX is, so I would suggest you give me a call and I'll answer that for you directly. Who's going to pay for all of the other park improvements? Our current plan is to raise the money ourselves to build the landmark and also to improve the park. We will, of course, be looking at all funding sources when we get farther along, whether that's foundations, individuals, government agencies, interest groups, other stakeholders. Lots of people care about the park, and we expect that all of them will be our partners until we finish. In fact, even after we're finished, they'll be our partners probably in maintaining and operating the park. What is the expected completion date for installing the landmark? As I mentioned earlier, we don't know yet. It will depend on which of the 3 is selected as the winner, and then a schedule will be created that's appropriate for that particular landmark design. With a tremendous university downtown, what engagement have you had with San Jose State in this process? We haven't had an immense amount of engagement with San Jose State, and that's actually something that I need to work on. I'm glad the questioner asked this. We've done some outreach that hasn't always resulted in as much engagement as we'd like, but we need to improve that. So thank you for the question. No other questions are appearing. Does anyone have any final questions before we move on? If the new project is placed where the carousel is currently located, will the carousel be moved to the Children's Discovery Museum for use by the public? Another good question. The carousel has been closed mostly for the last, I want to say, 10 years or more for various reasons. I know there's a movement afoot that the Conservancy is leading to likely move the carousel to the play garden, the Rotary Play Garden. It may be moved and it may not be moved. We don't know yet. If it is moved, we will of course work with that. If it is not moved, it may end up just staying and staying as an amenity of the park. If it does stay, we would do our best to make it a fabulous carousel that's clean and operated on a regular basis, and a great amenity, especially for children. So we don't control the carousel, but it may move and it may not move, and we don't know yet. Is the ability to stand up to weather conditions a criterion in the selection of the design? Certainly, yes. John Ball is our construction expert on our team, and all three of the teams are going to have to deal with all aspects of exposure to weather, cleaning, how their project functions in the wind or the rain or the sun. And the last thing we would want to do is build something that has a short shelf life because it wasn't seriously considered how it would handle basic weather. What's going to happen in the east side of the park? That's a very good question. It goes back to the activation answer I mentioned earlier, that we don't know what will be on the eastern side of the park, but suffice it to say that we want the entire park, all 14 acres plus, to be really first rate. And if you visualize any of these on the west side, the east side could be the prime viewing location to look across the river and the creek to the west side and see the landmark. So these strategies and details will be developed later as we make more progress. I know you have done a lot of work to get to this point, and I applaud you for this. It might be too late for this question, but why build a reminder of the old light tower? Two of the submissions include voids that represent the old tower. It seems to be logical if the original light tower gets built instead of its shadow. I can imagine the original light tower with an Eiffel Tower flare. Good question. We were not prescriptive in our phase one brief saying that people should or shouldn't reference the old San Jose electric light tower. And it was really a surprise that two of the three finalists selected by the jury have this shadow version of the old tower. So we didn't demand it, but we also didn't reject it as it is. Two of the finalists have that sort of shadow tower, and we think it's a beautiful way to deal with history. It was interesting that a number of the out-of-town jurors in particular were really infatuated with the idea of referencing and paying homage to the old tower. Can people propose other activities that support the winning project? I think the question is, can people who are not submitters suggest other activities? And we don't have a process for that yet, but what I would say is if you have some ideas for the park, share them with me and I'll share them with our team. We know that lots of people other than the three finalists have lots of great ideas about what should and should not be in the park. And as we get into the activation strategies, we may add all kinds of fascinating things like benches, fountains, donor recognition elements, and other things. Building an entire park with lots of beautiful objects requires a lot of creativity, and then it'll require a lot of diligence on our part to get it built. For the 50% of the jury who will select the final project, is this process open to members of the public to be on the panel? The answer is no. The jury is a private jury that deliberates in private, but we also do have a community competition panel that's approximately 35 community members who had recommended 47 designs to the jury to be considered, and the jury seriously looked at the ones that they recommended, even though they weren't selected as the final 3. So we already have a process with a community panel and also with the jury. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I'm going to sign off now. I want to say to everyone, thank you for your interest. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your donations. We've got a lot of work and a long way to go, and we're ready for that. We work on this, John Ball, Christine Davis, and me on a daily basis, and many of our other supporters on a daily or weekly basis. So I just will remind you that this is in no way a deadline. We are actually doing another similar webinar on December 1st, but you can pick up the phone and call me anytime. We very much want to know what you think, and I'm here at any time to respond. What we're doing, we think it's a spectacular gift to our city, and the more of you who are on board with us, the better. So with that, I'll say thank you and feel free to call anytime.